Elaine? Elaine? Elaine?
So that's the other thing you always want to do.
Yeah, how you are.
Mr. Deal might be able to
Look at the
hear
table,
us.
they have 1 minute
Well,
to
actually,
go and
it's here.
test them.
Mrs.
figure
Deal
out
might
There we
be
go.
able to
I
hear us.
see
And so,
volume
like,
now.
they'll come
Okay.
in
Oh,
and they'll
yay.
say,
I had to come right
Okay.
out
they
here.
come in
This
and
is the microphone
they
now.
have
Video.
these emails they need to
Now go to
Yay.
chat window.
Okay, chat right
No.
here.
Say hi.
Okay.
Can you hear us now?
or the crane stop. They need, it's their job to make sure that
We should be able to
table
hear
is
them if
set.
they
Yeah,
unmute.
yeah, you can unmute and say yes if you want
Supposed be
to.
down.
We lost
It's been
Fairchild, I
changed.
think.
Yes, yes.
We're there.
We're there, okay.
No, but when things happen.
All right, Jerry, I want a thumbs up from you. Actually, the timing was beautiful because they had time to put it all together. This, I'm guessing.
No, they're sure that it's been done.
This was my guess on that, right? Yeah, that's it.
It's good.
There we
Leave that
go.
center.
That's gonna make it easier to get on. Let's make sure Jerry can help us. I can hear you on the phone.
Okay, good.
Yes, okay. And
Okay, cool.
she can see, I'm hoping, okay, everybody wave. Woo! Yay!
Woo!
Because it's woo. Okay. Woo! Okay, this was actually beautiful timing, Jerry, because they put the table together.
Okay.
Hey,
Oh, yeah, good, so you can hear it too.
all
That
right.
was audio.
So, cameraman, make yourself useful. Okay, is everything tied down now, right? Okay, so first, let's talk about the first thing, which is they forgot to give us an 8-foot mat. They gave us a 7-foot mat this year, right? So every year I've done this. This
6
mat
foot
has
11
been
inches.
exactly 8 feet long. That would fit exactly on an 8x4 piece of plywood. And this year they did something very interesting. They cut it down to 7 feet.
Good, perfect.
Which means that when you put it on your table, there's going to be 13.5 inches based on the size of this. It's 13.5 inches of table that's going to exist from the edge of your mat to the wall. Okay, so don't rebuild your tables. People were like, oh my gosh, we have to cut down our table and make it 17. No, don't touch your table, same table. There's a big gap that's going to be over here. So where's the north-south on this table this year?
Up here,
On the right?
the pink over here,
On
the
the
right, red.
There it is. Okay, right here, right? So this right here, this little pink thing, this little compass tells you the direction of the table and the walls, okay? So this closest to me is the south wall, okay? And therefore, that one over there is the north wall. This is the east wall, and the one on the left is the west wall.
You can point it out.
The way the mat gets put on this here, that's slightly different, is that your south wall, so the one closest to you, will butt up against your south, the piece of wood that runs over here, and will butt up against that, okay? And then your east wall will butt up against the edge, and in theory, when you do that, you should have 13.5 inches there, okay? If you find that you have way too much room over here, you'll have to shift your mat a little bit, but what they're looking for here is 13.5 inches of bare, it'll be bare wood, basically, okay, which we're not used to. Okay, base basically doesn't exist anymore. So base used to be this area over here, but when you read the rules, it'll tell you this is now called, does anybody remember? Launching area, exactly. So it's your launching area, and this strip of wood you've got over here is called home. Okay, so there's no base anymore. So you have home and you have launching area. Clearly you have to launch from the launching area, but when your robot comes back, it can go anywhere into home. It used to be that it had to come back in this area. No more. It can come back here if you want to, that's fine, but anywhere in the home area over here is legal, okay? Read the rule very carefully. It'll tell you that in order to be in home, every molecule of that robot, every piece that it is carrying, right? If you're carrying cargo, if you're bringing something back to base, every piece of it has to be inside of home or inside of the launch area to be legal, okay?
Legal
Kids
to
can tell you
like legal to touch it. And do
to touch it and do something. That's right. If you touch a robot that is stranded anywhere on the table, okay, what the ref will do, star referee over here, he'll take one of these things away from you, and you saw from the points, if all 6 remain on the table. So when you start and you put your robot in your launching area, and if you do nothing for 2.5 minutes, you'll get points for the fact that these 6 precision pellets over here are still going to be there. Okay?
So if
You
nothing
do
happens,
nothing,
nothing happens to.
you have points. Welcome to first. We try to reward and not be punitive, right? Now, if you have a stranded robot and you have to go get it, Mr. Ref over here, he'll take one of these away. And every time he takes one away, every time he sees a penalty, right, you're losing points because of that. So that's what those are there for.
So you're
Your
not,
road-
I'm sorry, that's still cute because you still get points, just less.
Just
less.
correct,
Yes.
correct.
Yeah, and so
Yes.
that robot has to be, so if it's just hanging over this line or whatever.
So it depends if you're talking
If
about
you're
launching
touching
or
it.
home.
Yeah.
Home includes the inside of the wall over here. As soon as you start hanging over the wall, you're outside of home, okay? So you can't have things that hang over the table or hang over the wall. You can't do that. It has to be within the inside of the, over here, the west wall, and inside of these dark black lines. And the rules say this white portion with the logos over here, it says in the rules, is not part of your launching area. Your launching area includes this thin black line here, but as soon as you're over that and sort of over the white part, you're outside of the launching area. Okay, so robot has to fit in this quarter circle, and there's a ceiling this year, 12 inches. We have stories we can tell you about a 12-inch ceiling when we went to Legoland, let me tell you. We had an arm that went down, and the ref measured, and we were 12 and she said, mm-mm. So the kids went back and they pushed the arm back and added a few degrees of rotation, and that's how they got away from it. But when we showed up at the table, let me tell you, she had her ruler and she was measuring.
But then.
Yes.
We got first place robot at that competition, and she goes, I'm surprised.
So yeah, so here's the thing, when you measure your 12 inches, if you take a ruler, you know how it doesn't quite start at the edge of the ruler, it starts about a 1/4 inch. That's what got us in trouble, okay? So make sure you either subtract a 1/4 inch or, go for 11 inches and 11 3/4 inches to be on the safe side, because this one over here, he'll be there with his ruler.
So your arm was outside that radius?
Yeah, so when we had an arm that was at an angle, so when she measured from the table to the top of this arm, we were slightly above the 12 inch. So they went back to the room and they took this arm and they had it start a little bit further back, so it got under the 12 inches.
Okay, so in
But
motion, it can
In
be over
motion, it
12.
can.
Correct. Yeah, once your robot starts, you're good.
And if it
All
has
bets
like
are
a
off.
platform that it lifts,
Correct.
it's fine. It's
Correct.
just
So,
resting.
but pretend that there's 12 inches over here, and it's when you come back too, right? You have to be within, I don't know, I'll have to read that one and make
12
sure.
inches at rest.
At rest, yeah. Okay, so what they did this year is they call it, I think, small inspection area and large inspection area. So if you take this 1/4 circle line over here and you extend it where the red little dot is, you're 13 and a half. Everything that's on this side is called small, and everything to the north wall is called large. If your robot and all its attachments fit in the small area, any mission that you do on this table, except for one, I can't remember when, you get an extra 5 points. So if you go do something that's 20 points, you'll actually get 25. If you do something else that's 15, you'll actually get 20. So it's cumulative. Every single mission that you complete, you'll get an extra 5 points. So a small robot, small attachments this year pays off.
So say that one more time. So if it's small enough to fit in the launch area, it's
So
5
all the
points?
Small-
attachments that you use have to sit there at rest. Yes? Is that
Yes.
what we're talking about?
So there's no carts allowed
Right.
anymore. I've seen luggage. I've seen cardboard boxes. We would have a whole cart that we would bring. No longer allowed.
So whatever attachments you're gonna attach have to,
It has to fit in this 13 and a half inches here to the wall. But if it also fits, it's so small that it fits in this area, the small area, you get an extra 5 points every time that you
so that's
go.
why those Germans were essentially just had like one thing
Yep.
doing every task.
Yep. Yes, yes, yes. So they call it,
Per mission.
let's see, I think maybe it says it in the beginning here. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. Okay, if your robot and all of its equipment, so all its attachments, everything you're bringing to the table, including your white thing, I think that you're gonna build, right? That's what that says to me. The advantage for this game is 5 points added to each mission where you score any points. So even if you do a partial one where you get 10 points instead of 20, you'll still get an extra 5. Mission 14 doesn't apply. 14 is that, so that doesn't apply. So which is the red dots. And mission 2, you get an extra 10. So mission 2 is these blocks here off the crane. We'll talk about that in a minute. If you do that one, you get an extra 10 if everything fits in the small area. That, you know what that says to me? That's a tough one. That's a hard one. Because you've got to move the bottom block over. You've got to turn your crane, which is it this one? That's the release. You've got to turn your crane and you've got to release.
And it has to land on.
And it has to land on top and be balanced, right? It's tricky. So that one you get an extra 10. All right? So what Becca wanted me to do is sort of tell you how it is that the Brickmasters would go through this process, right? We would build the table, we stick everything to the table, we lay out everything that used to be in base, now home, and we would take this, we'd print out one copy of it. I had all the kids sitting around the table, and then I would hand that to the first kiddo, and you read mission 1, and then we discuss mission 1. And then we would score them.
Easy, medium, hard.
Easy, medium, hard. We would use the big 3M pieces of paper that stick to the wall. We would use those, use a whiteboard, whatever works for you. But the reason we like that paper is that throughout the season, we would keep that on the walls so that you go after the easy ones first and then the medium ones, and then you can go for the hard ones. But it sort of tells you a little bit about sort of judging how difficult each one is. Does anybody want to jump in and take mission 1, read it, and we'll talk it over? Nina, there you go. All right, mission 1.
Elevated places. We're talking about the bridge here. If the robot is supported by the bridge, 20 points. If one or more flags are clearly raised any distance, only by the robot, 15 points each flag. You can only get flag points if you get bridge points. So, which kind of makes sense. You have to be on the bridge to do
On the
flags.
bridge.
You can't hit them off the ground.
Yep, you have to hit them. You have to be there, fully supported.
Okay.
Rule 31 allowance. It is okay and expected for robots to collide while trying to earn flag points. As we learned earlier, we can't block. When clearly only one robot is holding a flag raised, only that robot scores for that flag. And so the way I understand is every team will have this, but on the table there's only going to be one center piece.
Right. So the
it's gonna
centerpiece,
straddle.
you will
So
build
yeah,
it.
it straddles, yeah.
So what's going to happen is, the wall goes underneath here, right? And this ramp that we've got here, there's going to be another one on the other table. So in competition, for those of you that are new, the 2 tables are tied together, okay? And they're literally, we drill them together. So they're completely attached. So home or launching area for one team is over there, and the other team will be over here. So they're sort of catty-cornered to each other. This was going to come on the other side. And so what that says to me is we've got a race here to push on these to raise these flags, but they don't, ooh, did you see what happened there? Yes. It can fling over there. So, it's not something, I think when you can drop something on there, right? So if you want to come over and drop something to keep your flag elevated, I think that's perfectly legal. But you can't block though, that's the thing, it can't block. If it's something where the other robot can come in and can push your thing off, I think that's okay. The Germans, what they did, I don't know if you saw what they did, they dropped something in the partition here. That I think is blocking the other team.
Yes.
Because I think that I would really question. So I expect as the season goes on that there'll be more details on that and what to do. But what they're doing is whoever gets this first gets the points, but you don't get points for parking your robot until the end of the 2.5 minutes. And do you see what happened to our robot when we put it there? There's a way to solve that, and it is keep power, set the brakes, and keep your program running at the end of your 2.5 minutes. Don't end your program, put the brakes on, and keep the brakes on the whole time. We
Wait,
can
do
do
you
that
get
this
the-
afternoon.
Do you get the points, I mean, you get the points during or at the end?
Very end. This is one that.
So when you go up, you don't get points just for being up.
No.
Can we
If you go
pause?
up,
They engineered a solution.
They engineered a solution.
Well, there you go.
oh, yay!
And then what about if you do hit and your robot falls, then you have to grab it, obviously. That's a touch point.
And things that-
At the end, then you don't grab it. It's not.
It's at the house. Go get paid.
Or this is one you want to do towards the end,
Yes.
but before the other team does it.
Parking, everybody can park, right?
Yeah,
But
but only
you-
one robot can fit up there, so.
Correct.
But you get the
Now-
flags.
Now, here's what I don't know. Here's what I don't know. So suppose, as they did in that video, so suppose they come in and somebody drops something and the two flags are raised. Off you go and both are parked. Do both teams get the points for the flags being raised?
Or is it just
I
to
mean, right
raise
here,
the
you
flag?
have to be, it says right here, you can only get flag points if you get bridge points. To get bridge points, you have to be on the bridge, so.
Okay, but the
Yeah.
bridge,
It says-
but you
but
can
if
both
go
be
up
on the bridge. You can have
drop
one here
something.
and you can have one here.
It does say,
At first,
when clearly only one robot is holding a flag raised. So what I'm getting from that is that I can't just drop something here.
It
And
has
then
to
get
be a
on-
robot.
It has to be a robot. It says
Yeah.
a robot is holding the flag raised. I mean, that might be a question for clarification, but, I mean, what you're saying is you could come drop something,
Could you?
go around and park here,
Mhm.
and you get points. But this says the robot is holding that flag raised.
so you don't get
But it's
points
a
just for
race.
driving up and they don't go up, that's not 5
No, you
points
do.
or whatever.
If you
It's
get
the first
20,
person.
yeah, you get 20 points if your robot's supported by the bridge.
Get 20 points if you're spotted by the bridge.
But like if
Okay.
the first mission you
You
do,
have to stay there on the
Mhm.
bridge.
and you just do and you make flags go up, is that points? And then you leave? Or no points?
See, that's,
It doesn't clarify that, so I would read it that you can go up.
So we can go look
supported
at
by the bridge and
updates.
leave, so you
Yeah.
get 20 points because you show that you're supported.
And that's really important that you look at updates all throughout the season, because there will be
Yeah.
those updates
Okay.
all the way up to, right?
so let's do that. We'll go look at the update after, because that's very unclear to me. So what the Germans did was drop something at the very beginning, right? Because they read it the way I read it, which is it's a race. It's the first one to get there. They dropped something to hold both flags off, and then they went off and did the table and came back at the end of the 2.5 minutes. So now both flags are raised and they're parked on the ramp, but they did it in such a way as to potentially block the other team. So I'm not sure.
Where the rule came from.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go back and read the update after, okay? Certainly, you wanna be able to park on the ramp.
But there's no way
Right.
this year for you to help the other team get
Help,
points.
not the way I see it,
No.
not the way I see it.
This-
Okay, so we'll have to keep chatting about this one because I'm a little confused. Now, from a execution perspective, to be able to park upon the ramp, right? It's no accident that you've got a big fat black line over here that leads up to your to the ramp over there, right? So the robot I had you guys build has 2 light sensors underneath, okay? In this case, the way they've got it done here, it might be a good idea to have a light sensor smack dab in the middle, because if you've got your robot following this line, it'll center it exactly on this ramp and go up, okay? We had our light sensors off to the side, which is what that one has right there. And that's okay too. You can follow the line this way, right? And then adjust your position in order to go up. You can do it that way. if it was me, I'm guessing, I don't know what you guys would do, but my guess is we would look at a way to add another light sensor somewhere in the middle so it can follow this line exactly and be centered. That's what I would look at. So I would say that to do the ramp this year, line following is going to be critical. Anybody have any thoughts other than that? Do you agree, disagree? Do you have any ideas on how to get off that ramp predictably other than using that line?
Well, they broke it up right here.
Yes, yes, that's good stuff.
So it doesn't
Can use that.
accidentally follow.
Mhm. Yeah, we can use that. Okay, mission 1. Who wants to do mission 2? Hopefully they're easier after that because that was a hard one. We'll have to read up on those flags. Volunteer.
Ursa.
There you go. Mission 2.
Mission 2, crane. If the hooked blue unit is 1, clearly lowered any distance from the guide hole, 20 points.
Any distance. So it doesn't
Any
have to go.
distance.
Okay.
2, independent and supported by another blue unit, 15 points.
Okay.
And level 1 is completely in the blue circle, 15 points.
Okay. So if we centered this guy exactly and we just dropped this, how do we know this is in the right position? Oh, I see. Okay. If you, this turns or this drops? This drops?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm lifting and it drops. So if you just drop, it does not line up.
It doesn't, you still
Is that
get
what you-
points.
You get points. You get points for it going down.
I think this was demoed at the beginning, like, last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think just lifting this and letting it drop any distance is an easy.
It's 15 points.
It's an easy.
Super
And then
easy.
you also, if you sat in the,
Mhm.
if you were in the small base, then you would get the extra.
The extra 5, correct.
10.
But what I'm saying
No, you
is,
get extra 10. 'Cause
this one's hard.
So if you just lift this and do nothing else, you get 25 points.
Because you got any
If you-
points.
if you
You're
stayed-
right.
If you stayed
You're
in base,
right.
if you had a little tiny robot,
Yes.
you came out here and you
Yes.
lifted this thing, you get 25 plus all your touch points.
Plus whatever your touch points
That
are.
was the, yeah.
Super simple. Okay. But if you just drop it, the way they've aligned this and this, it will not land on top of it. Do you agree with that? Okay. So if you want them to land on top of each other, you have got to move the bottom, either the bottom block or rotate somehow.
Is there a starting spot for that block?
There is.
Okay.
Yeah, so you line yourself up exactly that way. Okay, so if you want to move this guy into the blue block, in the blue circle, and you want to turn your crane, you lift to turn. And you got to turn just the right amount. Oh, wow, look at that, you can overshoot it. So you got to turn it just the right amount and then drop the other one.
Do you get points for pushing that first blue block into the circle?
Yes.
So you can still attempt it and you get points for dropping and pushing.
This guy.
How do you reload, do you know?
You have to use the wheel.
Oh, I know how.
Does
Go
the
for it.
crane have to, do you have to tell the judge, or the crane's not in the
Oh.
right position or something?
Oh, yes. So when you show up at the table, if there's anything at the table you don't like how it got reset, tell your kids, do not touch competition tables, right, Mitchell? Right, Mr. Referee?
Do
When
not
the
touch
kids-
competition
Do
table.
not touch competition tables. What do the kids do?
Touch the competition table.
Right? So the kids go, I would give jobs to my kids and I would say, you are responsible for this side of the table and you are responsible for that. And they'd come in and they'd inspect everything and they'd go, oh, I want that turned a little bit, I want that moved a little bit, or whatever, so that it is exactly where it's supposed to be. Let the ref do it. Okay, it's very hard for them not to touch it, but let the ref do it. But they have, until they are 100% satisfied with how the table is set up, they should tell the ref. Okay, when they're ready and they like how it's set up, then they'll say, You guys ready? Thumbs up. Are you guys ready? Thumbs up. 3, 2, 1, Lego. And then the 2.5 minutes will start. Okay? But absolutely, the kids need to advocate for themselves. All right, so we got the moving of the block, dropping of the block, and potentially piling them up one on top of the other. Okay, that's mission 2.
Hard.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could drop this,
Mhm.
and you could come and you could just push that there. And you would get.
Yeah,
Sure,
I'd have to read it to see, can you score for both in the circle and dropped without them being piled up?
That's the question.
If it's independent and supported, so if we manage to get that, that's 15 points.
Okay,
And if it's in the blue circle, it's a bonus.
and what if you're this way?
Okay.
What if you're this way?
Like, I guess
It's
we
a
have
lower
to, well, it's all one task, so maybe it has to be.
Well, so it says, hang on. I think you're okay. If the hooked blue unit is clearly lowered any distance 20, it's lowered 20 plus whatever potentially. Independent and supported by another blue, 15. In this case, it's not, so you wouldn't get it. Level 1 is completely in the blue circle. So you can do this and you'll get 15 for the blue circle, completely in the blue circle, not partially, completely in the blue circle. You get
Yeah, but
15.
These are together, there's an and there.
Independent and supported by another, and level 1 is completely in the blue circle. You're right. Independent
So
and
you
supported.
can't just,
So this
you
doesn't
can't
count.
just take, you can't take a blue block and put it in that circle.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
You have to do that.
That, yes. Or move first, turn, and then drop. Holy cow. No wonder you get an extra 10 points.
So you don't
That's
get points
tough.
if you
No.
move it and
Because
you
she
try
says
it fails.
and right there.
And,
Right?
oh, so no,
And.
it almost goes level 1 and then you-
Independent and
get some
supported, and it's in the blue circle.
Oh, that is hard. Stick with the first option.
Yeah.
So clearly lowered any distance is 20. That should be easy. The other one is you have to end up
Does it
in
have to
this
be this
position.
block that's on there?
Yes, the hooked blue unit is independent and supported by another blue unit, and it's completely in the blue circle. Yes. Okay, you see how this takes time?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, okay, very good. Mission 3. Who's that? The simple one? There you go. You're like me.
Yeah, gotta have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, geez, I think it's easy.
Yep.
Mission 3, inspection drone. If the inspection drone is supported by axle A on the bridge, 10 points.
This guy right here.
Yep.
That's simple.
That's simple,
But-
except for that
So
object in front of it.
You
All
would
That's true.
hang it off your robot before, it's like if you're
Correct.
attempting it, that's hanging off your robot before
Correct.
it goes.
So you'll have your robot in the launching area. Your robot will somehow hold this. It needs to get itself over there and needs to dump it on that hook. I think from an understanding perspective, it's pretty easy, but that's hard to do.
You gotta find the hook.
You gotta find the hook, and yet there's no lines leading up to it. Whoops, sorry. There's no lines leading up to it. Now you can use these over here to position yourself, but yeah. So I'm picturing something that's holding this thing, and then when it goes down, it just naturally slides off to that arm and falls off on the other hook. Okay, all right. Next one. 4, who wants to take it? There we go.
Mission 4, designed for wildlife. The bat is supported by branch on the tree.
Any branch? Does it tell us which branch? B. What does it say in the picture? Can you tell?
The long brown one.
This long brown one here,
10 points.
10 points on here. So I wonder. I'm guessing that would not count. I'm thinking it's got to be about there. So. Okay. What? You guys laughing at me?
No,
That's
I'm not.
hard. That's hard. Don't you think? Like it's so light, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to hold it. No, you throw it by and just let it go, or, see, I think that.
I'll put it over here, I'll make me come more dangerous.
All right, next one. 5.
Look at the bottom.
Mission 6, traffic
6.
jam. If the traffic jam is lifted, its moving part is independent and it is supported by its own hinges as shown. The traffic jam is lifted, its moving part
Heavy.
is independent and it is supported by its own hinges.
As opposed to, so it can't touch the wall, right?
When they keep saying it's independent, because they use that word for the block
Oh.
and that, what
You
is that?
can't leave them.
You can't leave something on there.
gotcha.
So,
Okay.
so people would build something, push it out there to hold that piece in place. That's what they're saying. No, you can't leave junk on there to hold things up. Yeah. So this is heavy, is what I see as the challenge on this one. It's not so much that it's,
But you could knock it again on your way in or out.
yeah, it's, yeah. Yeah, okay. Now, and notice there's 2 arms over here, right? You, of course, you can do it this way, but you could do it this way and lift it, okay? And it doesn't say you have to use the blue arm. If you have a way of coming in here and lifting it this way, you can do it. As far as I can see, I didn't hear you say that you had to use the blue arm. So if you have a different way of lifting, you can do it. All right, next.
Mission 7, if the swing is released.
That's it? All right, you get 8
That's
then.
it.
How does it get released?
You just have to knock it down.
Just knock that thing down.
Just knock it down. And that's it. Again, right? If it's it doesn't say that you have to do this. Perhaps you find that doing this is easier and then driving off. You can do that. It just says you have to release it. So how you go about doing it is up to you. You can be, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be this way or this way, but if it's easier to come in and lift that and then let it go, do that. Sounds to me like they might be.
Can you let me see, please? If your robot went in.
Yeah, why not? As long, you just
Can't
can't
break
break it, right? You can't
Has to
rip
be
it
a
off.
gentle, yeah.
If it rips off, you're in trouble, but if you just want to knock it, it didn't tell you how. If it doesn't tell you how, it's open for interpretation, you can do whatever you want, okay?
Any mat firmly attached to it.
It is not.
So it's
We've
just
been
like
known
this.
to go under the mat. It's not a good day. We've seen it all. No, it is not. I think I read somewhere this edge may be stuck down, but as a general rule, the mat is not attached to
So
the
some
table.
people like pin their mat into the table or tape it down. Don't do that.
Don't do that
You're
because
not
then
allowed.
your robot, you won't see what problems you're encountering with your robot if you do that. Yeah, and I gotta say, Evan and I both commented this morning, even though this got unrolled this morning, there's no big bumps. So
They used to make them with a much
this
thicker
material's
material.
good.
And this is way
Yeah,
better.
it was like
Much better.
fabric.
Mhm.
So you guys don't want to put it down?
You know why? It's not gonna be down at the competition.
Yeah.
So you might as well
You can make the
deal
swing
with
fall like that
this
too.
little. All right, but that's good to know. It really does show you. Oh, okay, so how does that one go? Okay, what's the next one?
The elevator.
The elevator, okay.
Score one or the other. If the elevator's moving parts are independent and supported only by its hinges as shown in the following position. Blue card down is 15 points, and if they're balanced, so blue card's down at the bottom, then that's 15
I think
points.
it starts with.
And if they're balanced, So I think it starts like this.
Start with a blue card down.
Because if
Oh.
blue card's down, you get
Yeah, that makes sense, because
And
see
if
this
they're
line here?
balanced, you get 20.
How many for balance?
20.
Is that balance?
And
Again, the brown one was a little lower, it looks to me, than the blue one, when they say balanced, as shown. You score one or the other, you can't score both.
Wow.
Boy.
Does it say independent again, like you can't come and sit?
The elevators moving parts are independent and supported only by its hinges as shown in the following position. Blue card down, 15 points, balanced, 20.
That seems like a hard five.
So that part, blue down, not so bad.
Yeah.
Balance, hoy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
That's
would
a
think that
tough
would be
one.
a lot more challenging than five.
And you can't
Yeah,
score
no
both, so
kidding.
that means you
You
can't
can't
come
score
back
both.
and do it again, right? I mean, you can't
Right.
come back and balance it out again.
Yeah,
20 points more.
yeah. Yeah, I would just flip it and move on with your lighting. It's like, we can't do it with our own hands. I mean,
Yeah. You might get it that way, and then as the robot's moving away, it
Yeah,
shakes it
it
enough that it
shakes.
knocks it over
Yeah.
again.
yeah. you
But
might
if
as
it
well
shook
just
it, it
flip
would at least shake it on down. If you tried,
Yeah,
and then it shook it, it'd shake it on down.
okay.
You would hope.
Hopefully with the blue one, was we the one that falls.
Yeah, yeah, okay, all right, next.
Condition 9, safety factor. If the test building is independent and supported only by the blue beams, and some beams have been knocked out at least halfway, 10 each beam.
So this is just sitting on top, is that how it works?
Yes. There's like corner pieces that fit.
Okay, so that's what it looks like underneath.
Seven don't do anything other than support.
And so these blue pieces here fit into these, okay?
The camera isn't really showing it very well.
No, okay, let me see here. Do you see the hair?
There you go, that's better.
Can Jerry see that? Ooh, there, these corner here, that's what's gonna show. And it doesn't matter which direction by the looks of it.
You're gonna have to push it out.
Well, I guess
You could knock out one.
Okay, all right, what do you
The
think,
video had
Alexa?
that corner when it's knocked out.
Okay.
Those two, and then this one.
Okay, you just have to.
You actually could probably do the other.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
No, no, I meant on.
The opposite,
Or
yeah.
Will it stand, it's just.
Yeah.
10 points.
Jenga.
So that's 40.
No, I'm not sure which one's the show.
So that's with two,
How many?
right? We just have the two corners left.
Per beam, and they're total of
Everything
16
else is
Somehow
done.
you got the back,
Yeah.
two pushed out on both sides.
Yeah. So it can balance on two arms.
How long does it have to balance?
But you'd have to get all the way
At
down.
the end of the 2.5 minutes.
You have to get all the way around the back. I mean,
So
just
I would-
pushing out, leave that one there and just push the outside one. That's
Or-
like the easiest.
Or what if you come in with a long arm that goes all the way through and
Yeah.
pushes both the middle ones over? What's gonna happen? Eesh. Oh, yeah, you could.
Or you could come in with a long arm and, whoops.
And keep those two, right? Yeah. Does that balance? No? No? So you can't remove the two end ones. If you do two end ones, it tips. So you can do the two middle ones and then catty corners. Okay, all right.
Same little battery
All
on
right.
the screen again.
Again?
We got it.
Lloyd Mitchell.
The battery's
No,
running
we
low.
got it.
You got it?
Oh, it's fixed.
Okay, all right, next.
Steel construction.
Steel construction, this guy over here, the beautiful pink.
If the steel structure is standing and is independent and supported
Oh, it
by its
starts
hinges.
there.
I don't know if it's, there's a line here, so it must start like that.
Okay, all right.
So standing and independent and supported only by its
And if you overshoot it, that's what happens. Okay, so we don't want to do that. So you want to bring it up. And so I would test and pop. Where's the line? The line's right there, okay? Oh, man. Whoa! Whoa! So it's almost like you have to catch it somehow. Wow. It's actually hard to make it tip that way, but it'll swing right back. Okay? That's it?
This game.
Yeah, oh, but.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, okay, that's good. That was good. It's tight in here though. To get in here is gonna be tight. You have a line there, okay? All right. Okay, what else is left?
11.
Innovative architecture. This is the,
This dude here.
if there is a team design structure clearly bigger than a blue building unit built only from your Lego white bricks, completely in any circle, 15 points.
Okay?
You can build it on the spot.
No, you can show up with it, yeah.
But you have to move it
Pre-built.
into a circle, but not this blue. Didn't it say this blue circle doesn't?
Doesn't count.
From the diagram, it is this one. Partially in any circle, 10 points.
Okay.
Completely in any circle, 15 points.
Okay.
It says, random structure shown. Design and build your own structure before you compete. Then bring that to the match. You don't build it during the match. Your Mission 11 structure needs to be built from bad 10 elements only.
Okay.
It can include the red and gray elements. Not all of bad 10 elements need to be used. Just
Okay.
has to be bigger.
Bigger than that, okay. Now, any circle, not the blue, because the blue's dedicated to those little units, right? So you can have a robot here that's holding this structure, and you can go, voot, voot, and you're done, right? It can be that simple. And because you have a wall here, you can line up on that wall exactly. We would even back up into the wall before taking off to make sure we were nice and even, and then go and deliver it in there. Just green block, done. Okay?
If it's bigger, the size of it doesn't matter, like more fun.
Not according to this.
No, but now, I'm interested now as we get into these things here.
It says score one or the other, so you can't do both. It has to be either in any circle or partially in a circle.
Okay, yep. All right, next.
And it's one structure.
Yes, one structure.
You can't build 5 and put it in 5 circles.
I don't think so, no.
If it is specified, you don't, but I don't see it.
Did it say base structure?
Oh, no. Good, good, yeah, okay. All right. Yeah.
Design and build, please take the needed time to understand it. If there are any circles with at least one color matching, you need to do it.
Okay.
Flat down on the map. And
So we've got red, we've got gray, we've got white, black, 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 and blues are different things, right? You're moving those things? Okay. Potentially, so, okay, what does it say?
so the blue circle is not, so, but you could also do this in this.
You can, but then you don't get the color matching. Yeah. So you can get red and red.
Right. White and white.
Base and base.
There's white and white, there's no base, but you can put them anywhere, you just get extra points if you match the color.
Okay. So, black.
Would you get points?
have those white ones, it can go with these black ones. The white,
Can go anywhere. So read that mission then.
Is there any circles? If there is one color matching unit completely in a flat down match, then circle.
Okay.
If there are independent stacks at least partially in any circle, partly in any circle, add all their heights together by each level.
So those are the black circles.
Two. Well, if there are independent steps, at least partly in any circle.
Yeah.
Add all their heights together by each level.
So here's what they're saying. If you have red and red, right? And then I think what they're trying to get the kids to do is to figure out how this, I don't know.
Well, and the German team built them first and pushed them out.
Right? So you make some kind of a structure, you push that in here.
But you can assemble it with your hands beforehand. You're
Correct.
not picking them up.
Yes.
And
Yes, yes, yes.
the red gives you the bonus, and then you
Correct.
have 3 levels.
And then you have 3 levels. It's very similar to what they're doing in FTC. It's a similar rule that they're doing with their bigger robots. But now you have a red completely inside of red. The other ones can be partial. As long as the red is complete, the others can be partial. You have 3 levels. You get the points for matching the color, and you get points for the level. So this to me is going to be very similar where you can assemble different structures, nice and tall, whatever you want to do, and just push in the circle and back, and you can get quite a few points with the same design. And then
What about this? You get 1, 2, 3, 4 levels,
1, 2, 3, 4 levels,
but no matching.
but no matching color.
You could still get points.
Yes. And I would say, because there's no matching color, you can be partial and get partial points for that. And then I don't know if there's different points if you're entirely in the circle, but yeah.
The matching color has to be on the bottom. So if you have a red.
Oh, and there was
one
also
on
sit flat on the table?
Remember, flat down on the mat.
Flat on the mat. Yeah.
So the first one, it said something about independent matching.
Yeah, so you can't put all of these in a larger box.
It doesn't mean that this has to be by itself.
No, these have to be.
Like standard, that each sports.
Okay. Yeah, and you cannot, you can tell how they built it. It's very, there's no way to connect them together, right? That's why they put all these flat pieces on there. So it really is, oh, look at that, right? You just made a cube, right? So if you kind of do the same thing like that, like who knows, right? You could do that and then bring them in here. You could do that. But you
Red's
can't
on the
do,
bottom.
sorry, the red has to be on the bottom like that, right? And it doesn't say, it's a flat on the table, but it doesn't say it's flat this way, doesn't matter. Flat on the table is.
As long as it's not like that. Because that's not flat on the table.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes. Or the color matching. I think for the rest, I'd have to read it, but it wouldn't matter. If there are instances that is partial in it, add of all the heights together. That's the problem. What's the height of that? You wouldn't be able to work out.
It says that, this guy doesn't have points. Did you write this in?
I did. I did. Yes, I did.
So that's probably something.
Because he says color match, red stack, 2, other stacks, 4.
Flat down.
Yeah, you have to be flat.
The gray side has to be flat.
What? No, they said that. No, that counts, because look, other stack 4 levels, 1, 2, 3, 4. It counts. The grade doesn't have to be down. It does have to be flat. It cannot be this way.
And having these two,
Higher
you don't get extra for having 2 reds.
You do not.
That's my
You do not. I think the reason they give you more is to give you more chances. So suppose you attempt it and it doesn't work, you wanna attempt it again, you have another red base to do it with, right? You can't, because you can't go get it from here. The robot can go get it, but not the human.
So if your only mission is pushing those 2 blocks, like that's your only mission that you're gonna do, and you fail, your robot can come back to launch, and then you give it another stack, and then it goes, and all of that happens under 2 minutes.
Or you can have another program that does
But
nothing
within
but
the 2 minutes, if the robot comes back to launch, you can touch it, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like it's 2 minutes, it's on the mission, and you can't touch it.
And, oh, no, it can come back, to home and launching as many times as you want.
And you can keep giving it blocks, and
Yes,
it
you
keep
can.
failing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You just, so suppose that they have some kind of a block structure that they push, right? And they lose it, and something happens, right? It's over here, it counts, it doesn't count. They cannot touch that, it's over here.
And it's gonna be in the way, for the
In the
next
way.
time, you have to be careful not
Correct.
to.
But, so
Correct.
you can program the robot, you can say, I'm assuming it's gonna fail, so we're gonna program the robot
Correct.
to come back. Just in
You can
case.
have a program that just pushes if you want to. You can have different distances, and you can say, ooh, I'm gonna try to push it 6 inches, I'm gonna take my 6-inch program and do that, right? And you go push it. You do that.
The nice thing about having 2 bonds is it's unstable.
Yeah. Yeah, but there is some friction for sure. So you can't push too high, you're gonna have to push really low, right? But you can have a structure that has, walls to your attachment where as you're carrying that, so it's not more than 12 inches, your
wall can go
back
up.
up. Yeah.
Because that doesn't count, right? So you got that stacked in front of it, and it's not stable, but your robot can move the arm, so then just push the whole thing.
Correct. Yeah.
And
Okay.
you put your red block in and then bring more blocks over and have them touch the red block later. You know what I mean, like.
So you're
you have
saying,
extra time.
what if you do this?
Yeah.
And then you do a second
And then
trim?
if you still have time, you can add that.
But
And
you
then
have
it's
to-
all
but
one
that doesn't
time,
get you more
can
fun.
have more place for on top.
Unless you start stacking.
I mean, that's what, if you had
Yeah.
one, if you had one.
Yeah.
And you brought back later.
Yeah.
Yes, and they're
But
touching.
now you're adding
you're-
levels.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could get the one in the full and then push another set. Like, you get pitched or something. And then you
Yeah.
go, oh, let's put that one where it just pushes a few more over there and get more points on that one.
Yeah, close. Yeah. You
So
can
yeah,
get
like, I'm gonna play it safe, we're gonna push the
We're
short
gonna get the
one
red
first,
one in there.
and then we're gonna
And
come
then, oh, I
back.
got time, I can push some more over there. and
Yeah.
get time
Just
more
be
points.
careful not to,
Program.
just be careful not to push your red out because it says completely in. So the color match is completely in. The rest, the levels don't. You get up with that.
If you had it.
Yeah.
But you're saying
That's the only
program
thing you're doing, then you got time.
Okay.
All
right.
So you have to almost program a separate one to not push it far, right? If you do the exact same one, it's gonna be.
You're gonna go too far. You're gonna go too far.
But if you put them all, if you do that one, I mean, that first one in particular, if you do that one first, they get on side, it's like, then it's blocking your list of traffic jam. So if you put the red one in the circle, got your point for that.
You can actually
Then
program
have
them to
that-
push the same
Is
distance.
your list, try that one, see if you can, it didn't work.
Yeah.
So if your first one only does
You can
this,
go both short.
and then your second one has that.
Yeah, you can do that. But I like what you're saying, right? You gotta be careful you don't do this too early in the 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because now if this is completely in the way of getting to the back
So if you got the
window.
one in
Yeah.
there and you came back and tried this one and you pushed those at the end, back over by the red one
Yeah.
and make that one higher.
Gotcha, yep, I like that, thank you.
And our team's definitely like, if we only have 3 programs, and the third one didn't work, I mean, they would just run it, and run it, and run it, or, like they're trying to get the beehive one, one of them, and we just kept going there over and over again.
I was just thinking of the things around.
Yeah.
If you
Order.
got the
The
outside.
sequence of things
Yeah.
matters. Okay, next. This is 12, but we're running behind schedule.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. 13, lucky 13.
Sustainability upgrade, only one counts per step. If an upgrade, solar panels, roof garden, insulation is independent and supported only by a staff which is at least partly in any circle and each upgrade. Okay, so you can push it out with your staff, you're stacking it up and
You cannot do this, right? There's one over here, you can put this on,
all you're doing is
right?
pushing.
And push that up here, now you've got one there, and you can have another one, it has to be on top of the stack, you can't just put the upgraded method, you can do that.
So you could push 3 and then you get 30 points, it's 10 each.
There's only one per. But only one per, exactly.
What, that is one per.
Yeah, you can't have 2 in one circle. Okay, that one's easy.
And then the last one is the great thing that you're
Okay, does it not talk about the tree? Oh, okay, the.
Yeah. Oh.
Like a tree house.
Right.
Structure in the tree.
Right. That was mission 5.
5, okay.
If the unit is independent and supported by the tree, large branches 10 each unit, small branches 15 each unit.
So this is small, and this is large. And you gotta do that without shaking the back off. Woo!
This is each unit.
Each unit.
Oh, yeah. That might be good, actually, because if you get that in here, and the back slides, I wonder if that would count like this, because it's still supported by the branch, but it's not sliding up. Right? So in the middle, big hole, right? That's what they call the large, and then this here, I mean, you can tell how tight that is, right?
So when you build a robot, and say the robot has arms, right? And it's probably one of those blocks. You give that blocks to your robot before you launch it, right?
Yes.
So the robot, yeah.
Yes.
Because then it's not, like those blocks, if you're pushing them, they're theoretically just sitting on the ground, but you can give the robot something to hold.
Yes, so when you're in base, you'll have your robot, they'll put on their attachments, and they'll preload, like you can see that the Germans do, right? They'll preload something on there, let's say, and then they'll line up, push the button, hands off, and then the robot will go and deliver. So that as soon as it crosses, as soon as it starts moving, really, you have to have hands off.
But it's not, I was worried that I had to program a robot to pick things up. And I was
No. In home, over here, you're good. And then when it comes back,
to pick up. That's fine.
yeah. And when you come back, like I said, you can come back anywhere in this back area. Right?
Can you be working with it and then pick it up and put it in launch? The
Can it
robot?
launch from home?
Yeah, or do you have to get it to run itself onto launch?
No, you handle, that you handle. So whenever it gets back over here, they're going to pick it up, right? There may be some cargo. Is there anything to bring back to base? There isn't. There's nothing coming back to base that I can see. So it's all going out. So it goes out. So they'll pick up whatever it is that they plan on doing. They'll get it all lined up. They'll get the
You only
robot.
launch from launch.
You only launch from launch area. Yes. And you only have one wall this year that you can use to back up to, right? So you saw what the Germans did. They always take off from the same position. Always. Okay. So when what they do is, and that's what we would do, we would back up into the wall. So we get you all straightened out, get all the tension out of the wheels, and then we take off. And when we take off, if you want to go there, you just go straight, and if you want to go there, you do it straight. Because there's no wall here. So in past years, we would take off this way, or we would take off this way, but I think this year, we're only going to take off from the south wall, is what I would do.
You don't have to bring anything back, like you could.
Nothing coming back?
Because what I would do for the last mission is I would go and deliver everything to the circles, make my way, and then I would do the house thing. Like knock over the
House
beam, so that you get all the
Yeah.
fragile things done there.
Oh, okay.
And the very end.
Yeah.
But do you
You
have
don't have, you don't have done.
No.
Do you
Any
have to
done.
finish in home or lunch, or you can finish anywhere?
You want to finish on the ramp if you can.
But
But you can finish anywhere, yeah.
2 minutes, you can just
When
dive.
the buzzer goes off, either the raft or the kids will stop the robot wherever it's at as quickly as possible, and wherever it is, that's it, right?
You don't have to
Your
come back
hope
home.
is that you're on the ramp, but, yeah, yeah, but you can be anywhere. You can be anywhere. There's nothing other than, if you want the extra points for the ramp, that's great. Otherwise, you're good.
But you only get the extra points with the flag, or you get ramp points.
You have to go back.
Because we were
You
talking
can
about
only
how you
get
end up-
flag with the bridge, but can you get the bridge without the flag? Okay, if the robot is supported by the bridge, 20. So if you park on the bridge, you get 20. 25 if you're small.
So if you end on the bridge part, that's 20 points.
20 points, okay?
But you have to find the bridge.
If one or more of the flags are raised only by the robot, 15 each flag,
But that could be regardless.
right?
And I assume supported by the bridge is all 4 wheels on the bridge.
Yes. You can only get flag points if you get bridge, but you get bridge even if you don't have flags. Okay, so if the flags are too much, don't worry about it, just park on the bridge, okay? It's okay that, like they're saying, they're expecting a little tug of war to happen over there. When clearly only one robot is holding a flag raised, only that robot scores for that flag. When clearly only one robot is holding a flag raised, only that robot scores for that flag. So I wonder if what the Germans are doing by coming in and listing both flags, it doesn't say here, right? In that case, the way they did it, the flags are both being raised by something, an object, right? It's not being held by a robot. Therefore, would both teams get points for both flags? I would make that argument.
But
I would guess no
They
points
drop
because they
something there,
have
and it doesn't
something.
say the flag has to stay up, right? It just has to go up.
It has to be up at the 2.5 minute mark, they have to be up. But if I read this, I would make the argument, right? And the kids have to make the argument, not me, so they have to believe it, right? But it says, if the robot, so if a robot is holding up the flag, only that team will get the points for the flag. But if the flags are raised not by a robot at the end of 2.5 minutes, like what they did by putting this thing in there, wouldn't both teams get points for both flags?
I thought it said you only get points if only the robot is lifting the flag.
If one or more flags are clearly raised any distance, but here's where it's tricky, only by the robot. Okay, but that's what does that mean though? If the robot comes in and puts something there that raises the flag,
Then the robot.
didn't the robot raise the flag? It's not holding the flag, but it's raising it. The robot raised the flag. Okay. Only by the flag. If one or more flags are clearly raised any distance, only by the robot. I don't know.
That's how
I don't know.
Right, I mean, you can only raise, I mean, the robot's doing everything, only the robot is doing the work. Unless you're gonna get a touch.
So
But they didn't use that word independent that they used on everything else.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
I think there's gonna be a lot more clarification.
So I think you're right. I think you're right. There's going to be a lot of clarification. So I would say, don't worry too much about that at the beginning of the season. I would say, if anything, figure out how to follow the line and park your robot, start there. And we'll go from there.
I would say,
All right.
it took me a little while as one new student in here.
It's probably not good.
It took me a while to come to terms with these robots are not precision machines. Every time you run the program, the same program, and you think you're doing everything the same, it's gonna be off by about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, would you guess? I mean, by a small amount.
Yeah.
Because it's like the charge level on the robot might even affect how far it drives. So a student might map out everything by distances, and each time they run it, it's gonna be off by like 1/8 of an inch. And then you think, oh, I didn't get it, the measurement right. Well, no, actually, the robot's gonna go out
That's why you need
kind
sensors.
of where you want to go. So what we found is that it took a lot of effort to get all the way out here and know where you are. Because it's gonna have some variation.
You have to use sensors.
You could measure
Yeah.
it, and the further you go out, the more likely that you're not gonna get where you thought you were going. And I know, we spent a lot of time just figuring that lesson out. It's not a precision, it's not gonna act the same.
But you know that this line's gonna be on the
That
table
line's
every
gonna
single
be there.
time.
Right.
You can follow that line.
You asked the question,
So-
does it have to come back to there? And it doesn't at the end.
No.
And you might make it up the ramp, but strategically, if you're a beginning team and you want to get points out here, that should probably be your last position. And you're gonna go out here and you hit that and just stay there.
So the
Not
farther
come
you
back.
go, say, I wanna go out there.
The
hit it,
further
and
out
turn
you go,
around.
the harder it is to come back again. And I even remember one year, I thought I had my team all, like, you know, they knew what was going on. And one student just got so wrapped up into wanting to get that mission out there that she would run it and it wouldn't work, and she'd grab it and bring it back. And then she'd run it and she wouldn't work, and she'd grab it and she would bring it back. And she probably earned at least 20 touchdowns. It never succeeded, and the ideas were just so fired up that you just want to keep the adrenaline is down. You just want to keep trying, and we're all gasping because every time she was running there, you guys can't bring it back. You can't watch. So anything out here is tougher for I think the beginning team. Yeah, because navigating all the way out there and getting all the way back there. That's a good thing for the robot. Okay. So, okay.
Overly complicated.
Should be-
By the
yeah.
time it turns around 6 times, it might end up being.
I mean, I'm telling you, in no uncertain terms, the only way to do this reliably is with them. The out and back is absolutely right. It will not, the batteries will matter, how much tension you have in the motors when it takes off matters. There's no question about it. The only way, I can show you a video of this team in action when there was a little loop way over here, and they hit that loop every single time. Didn't matter that it was a couple of days, but they followed the loop. Precisely, but really, really good. And there's a simple way to do it. Blind following program is the way to go. That's the only way you're gonna get on that. Reliable. But on my
distance
team,
is, like, easier. I mean, the kids get the
I
distance
know.
so
You
easy.
gotta push them beyond that. You just have to get them beyond that. It just green blocks, you know, go, they'll outgrow that and get forward really quickly with it because it's so frustrating because it doesn't do it precisely on time. But if you use a gyro, you do, you know, light sensors underneath, that's why I like this little robot over here. You'll get so much more precision. These kids know that until they could run a mission 10 times in a row perfectly, it's not that. So that's a tough one, right? When you implement that rule, that no choice, you have to go with sensors. You will not run a mission 10 times in a row perfectly unless you use sensors. Or the wall, something, right? On this table, I see a lot of lines, not a whole lot of area for using the wall. It's pretty busy, but certainly, you know, we can take a trip around here and have it do certain things here, maybe the other direction, but if you go around, you can tell that what they want you to do is go around and use these lines as a way to figure out where to stop, you know, how to turn, how to drop things on here. There's options. It's not that hard. We'll do that this afternoon if you want. All right. Okay, we're a little bit behind schedule. Do you want a full hour or do you want to regroup that line?
Entirely up to you guys.
We say, go with 1:15. How's that? Okay, 1:15. So I don't know if you guys know this area at all. Usagaya's over here. They've got food there. Right next door is Pita Pit. If you go across 36, there's a McDonald's and a Johnny Chicago. And I think those are your easiest. So there's a turning in Armpit also. Across the way. That's about it. Okay? All right. We'll see you guys in an hour. I
Patty come in, so we'll break up into groups at, about 1:15.
Yo.
Yes.
You're hungry.
Hey, how you doing?
So is she through it? I want to play.
Never mind.
No, you're dumb. You just gotta be dumb because you're dead. You're always give us a Samsung.
Yeah, the whole team's going. They've gone for 2 days away. 17. So no, if you get a team and you get set up, we'll help you get going.
Okay. And so the second question would be is, and it was more of a, and this was for the word back to school. Because you did the word keep growing.
Not a show.
Yeah. Seem to be like a matchup, you know, for people looking for members and stuff like that.
That's a little tricky. So schools, you know, these guys at school, we were in community teams, so we picked up lost kids from the city.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, really? I want to play like that. Degrees, I want to insult you.
Same problem you have.
Yeah, let's go.
When you get a bow
Yeah.
So,
I started my own team, and then started a team, Tammy next door, she did her own team. So when she Google, you're a team. This is great. This is ideal.
I didn't even care. I don't even try.
so minimum is 2.
Minimum is 2.
Too much power.
Maximum is 10. I think 6 is ideal. Okay. 10 is a lot. If you have one robot, if you're, I had 9 one year, but I had 3. So we have 3 robots still have them. But if you have one robot and 9 kids.
Yeah, and so the like tiny little fly can be to come or the umbrella, but I
A centralized visualization,
Yeah.
like, you know, like.
We met at the school.
Pulling people around, you know.
Grab a lot. And we could put up like a, how much cost, you know, for like a government building.
No, it's very short, it's very short between the library and
For the.
Yeah, what is
the
it?
No, you have to
and
figure
it's on the right hand
things
side,
out.
it's the last communications building.
The
Well,
kit
usually-
itself to actually get the
Yes, so that's about
500.
It's the last,
And then the
there's
season
a big Alaska communications building behind it.
$275 to
But you want
register.
the short one.
And then you've got your table, and then the first year.
Charge like
About
that for too long.
It's in the
Yeah,
same
but
as
goes way down after that. But because you have to buy, you know, the kit that builds this thing, first, and this is just one design, there's a million different designs on this robot. You have to
okay, it's like
start out there, that's $500, but once you've got it, you're good. You're good to go. Oh, yeah.
And then this is part of the registration.
Every year this comes with your registration, yeah.
I would say, so that's the next Tuesday. So.
Oh my God, wait.
I'm sure Jerry's gone for lunch. Can you tell? Can you tell if she's gone for lunch or can I ask a question? Maybe I should call her. Can you hear me, Jerry?
you register for Mario Kart Tour? Yeah, it's not gonna be multiplayer.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you know, I think through a number of avenues, you know, the funding is, and I think, yeah, I mean, the companies and things like that.
I'm gonna go
I think that's a real question.
What do you,
Having place.
or do you want,
Finding
like,
the
music
coach,
dialogue?
it would be different. I want people to
Just really not that
do it, but I'm trying to figure out
How about I call the
sure you
shots?
guys go home. I'm off mute. Why can I not?
Oh, there we go. Okay, Elaine?
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand, I'm glad I watched this. I learned so much today, thank you.
Good.
We have our table wrong. Home, the space, the 13 inches is at the far ends. I gotta change it. But when you said you can go home or to the launch area, and you can go home anyway, you can go home when you're still on the blue. You don't have to enter the white launch area and then go home, right?
Correct. You can go straight home.
Straight home.
Yes.
All right.
That's how, I'm gonna go find it just to make sure, because I'm learning these rules too, Jerry, because it's all new.
Right. I think it's really interesting. There's incentives for smaller and small. I think that's interesting. Something else is, so you're going to have all the buildings and all the little pieces laid out when you start. I'm assuming that as the robot is moving, one of the two people at the table will be building for your next mission. They'll be building the buildings. They're going to be pushed out or put out.
Absolutely. While your robot is running missions, you can be either at home or in the launching area prepping for the next.
That's what I thought. Okay.
For your robot's return. So
and it would make sense to do mission 12, and because you're leaving stuff on the table, and otherwise it's going to be crowded. Right?
Let's see here. Design and build. 30 seconds. Okay. There is pink. Yeah. They're very cool. Hang on for a second. Let's look at. If there are any circles with at least one kilometer. So 12. Okay, so you're saying you want to do mission 12 at the beginning?
No, at the end.
At the end, exactly. I agree.
Yes. Okay, because it leaves stuff. And the one comment I had about mission 1, you keep saying you have to park the robot on the.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I've got somebody on the phone. Sorry.
It's okay. You always say that you got to park the robot on the bridge to show it supports. I think it just says if the robot is supported by the bridge. It doesn't say you have to park it. If the robot moves up the bridge and raises the flags, does the flags have to constantly be raised the entire time? Or once you do that, that's your point, and you can then leave that area.
Very good point. So let me see if I've got updates. Whoops. Okay. So here, I don't know if you can see. No, you're on camera right now, right?
Yes, I'm on camera.
I'm reading robot at home, strategic and okay. Things completely in home can be stored, handled, shifted around any way you want. If it happens to interact with something which is at rest, it shouldn't be considered interaction. Bridge barriers not allowed. Okay. Supported versus supported only.
Home. It's not real. Remember the 8 yeah, it's like 13, there's
I'm reading through here to see if there's anything in here
Right.
that says
yeah.
community.
I don't see where it says it has to be up the entire time.
I think you're right. Yes, 13 and a half, hold the mat. Oh, hey, guess what? To hold the mat in place, listen to this, Evan. To hold the mat in place, you may use a thin strip of black tape on the west edge. Okay, that's what I was saying.
Right here,
over here, where the tape sticks to the mat and make over the mats, but only on the west side. And only can cover black. That's it. That's all I can do.
Then that makes
So,
sense because they're having to come in and out of here so much.
Yeah, so listen to what Jerry's saying, okay? So Jerry says, if the robot is supported by the bridge, 20 points.
Okay.
Okay, is supported. Now, there's a definition of supported over here. So the update, supported. Let me see, Jerry, if I can do this where I can go.
I'm reading it with you. I pulled it up on the line.
Okay, I'm looking at RG11, where it
Yes,
says
I'm
supported
reading.
versus supported only. Okay, these two situations are scored differently. Remember the example. The water is supported by the cup, since 100% of its weight is held up by the cup. The water is supported by the book, since 100% of its weight is held up by the book. Therefore, the water is not supported only by the
cup.
book.
No, look.
Okay, so I read that as meaning that supported means 100% of its weight has to be held up by the ramp. Do you agree or disagree?
If you drive up the ramp, it's supporting the weight. And it doesn't say supported by the ramp, it says supported by the bridge.
By the bridge, sorry. Any part of the bridge, and the bridge is you can be on the incline or you can be at the very top.
Right.
But because their definition of supported, to me, based on RG11 here, is that 100% of the weight of the robot needs to be supported by the bridge.
Right, but isn't driving the robot on the bridge supporting the robot on the bridge? Does it have to park?
Yes.
It's got to park.
Yeah, but at the end of the 2.5 minutes, right, the way points are counted, it's only what is stable and static at the end of 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
So in order for this to count, you have to be parked and you have to be stable on the bridge, either on the ramp or on the top, at the end of the 2.5 minutes.
Okay, but you could have raised the flags prior.
Yes.
So the flags do not have to, will the flags stay up by themselves when they're raised? No.
They will not. They will not.
Once you raise them, you get your points and you move on.
Well, they have to be raised when the 2.5 minutes ends. If
So
you
you
raise them and they fall back down, that's not going to do anything for you.
So this has to be completed at the end unless you leave something on the flag which you can't do because it's a barrier.
So that's what we're wondering. If you put something up on the bridge,
I'm not seeing the blue.
And it holds up both flags, would you be able to make the argument that both teams would get points for both flags?
Huh. Okay.
Right? And that's what we're reading right now is the update to see if that's it. Now, all they say in the update, there is something in the update right there, Tammy. Hang on here. Right here. Bridge barriers. It says bridge barriers. The only way that robot X can stop robot Y from scoring flag points is to be faster or stronger at scoring. Robot clashes are allowed, but all other competitive action is governed by Rule 30's second sentence. What?
Robot clashes are allowed?
Yes, I know. 30, Rule 30, I am pulling it up. Interference. Do not negatively affect the other team at the table except as allowed in a mission description. If you, your team, or your robot prevents another team from completing a mission, the referee will award them the points for that mission. I don't know.
I look forward to more clarification on this. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If you put things here, you're faster than the other team. Those are scored. The team doesn't have to come up here and beat the flag. You put.
But now have you done something to block the other team from doing something?
You've negatively impacted them.
Both flags are up, do they get points?
That's it. That's the question.
I put two things in, yes, I positively affected them, not negatively.
That's what I
So
think.
yes, if you want to put them both up, you're just faster than the other team. That's the way I read that. And then at the end, then you could go back down again.
Yes.
And park
Yes,
here.
that's what the Germans did. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
What was your question?
That's what we're trying to see. I'll show you the video, but the Germans have 590 points on the table already, you know?
Yeah.
I think they're aged out, so,
Yeah.
you know. But they come up and they put something in there that lifts both flags and then off they go, right? So, and then they park on the ramp.
Yeah.
Have they delivered the thing, right, that holds up the flags. Do both teams get the points for the flags? Because it says, if one or more flags are clearly raised any distance, and then it says only by the robot. Does that mean the robot is holding the flag?
That's the tricky part, only by the robot.
Okay, but the robot goes and drops something. The robot did that.
Yeah.
It's not the weight of the robot, but it's the robot that did
needs to be
something.
defined.
Can you see
That
what I'm
needs an
saying?
update, yeah.
So,
In the typical history, which doesn't count,
yeah.
it's nowhere on the ranking, but in the
Yeah.
typical history, yes, the robot could put an object, that's an innovative way to solve it.
And-
But
and
every
both teams
year,
get both
they
the
define
flags.
and they think, because that's the collaborative mission,
Yes,
that's the shared
that's it. That's it.
I just.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Right, you have to dig until you find out. Yeah.
Okay, I look for more clarification on that, but that's interesting. Okay.
That is interesting.
And I will not be here for the second half because we kind of understand the second half as this first half we didn't understand.
Okay, I hope that was helpful.
It was very helpful. Thank you very much.
All right,
Have a
thanks.
good day. Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
bye.
Bye.
Okay, and I think we lost Fairbanks, but I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Oh. All right, I'm gonna go.
There's some stuff. You might. This is what we're actually talking mission models and how, you know, these work for different points. And like this thing, you have to bring this up with your robot and have it land like that. Because if it lands like this, it'll do that. Or if it lands like that, it'll go like that. It has to be like that to get the points. Right? So figuring out the ways to program the robot to make it. And when you like first year, don't expect to do the whole board. We were just watching the German team. Everybody here on that was like watching their fields and practice, right? Because they just got 590 points, which is just so ridiculous. They did basically every mission. And, you know, here's how you do this, and they had these things. You can watch YouTube videos all day long on how people do different things with class because they've got a lot of these kids go up over the years. So from a loan aspect, you got all kinds. Yes. For a project aspect, you've got documents. Anybody can come up with a project idea. Anybody, like you know, family members, you know, 3 states away or whatever, they can come up with the idea, right? Like here's our problem, right? And then so the team doesn't have to come up with the problem and say, and then there's the core value aspect, which is how the team works well together, right? As a team. And so they'll go in and they'll have a judging session because everyone has a qualifier. You go in, you judge the qualifier, and then score enough points to advance to state. And so at state,
Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
I've only.
Yeah.
I remember
Visionware and was not shared.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
She always takes it to the next level.
He's gone.
She likes straight.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Complains all the time about her stomach hurt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. No, that's, yeah, because if nothing else, you just fire me an email. Evan.com, fire me an email and just, sure.
Yeah, no,
She
Yeah,
said,
definitely needs some pointers.
yeah, it works. Oh, but that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's, but I'm gonna go.
How much they.
I want to know those two cents. I had that. Another one of those.
Seriously, it's like, as you go, right? Just the last, we're doing as a sure, right? But, first year, they had a service in the
And then he sits down.
Because most of the health arts have 12
What is, last question here, when is sort of this date? So I'm assuming George started.
Correct. Yeah.
But
it's like, there's a
We'll be a little bit cheating, a little bit.
So, they're just now starting to register. Yes, so you go to, no, you go to, forced to, no, you go to Inspired.
And I'm like, I'll look at
And
the
you also go to.
You just want to know that I didn't tell.
I saw the website, yes.
And what it does, it'll give you all the.
I want to chat. I'm gonna try to one you. Yeah.
So what happens is you use this in the fall, right? Qualifier, and then then proceed to kind of extend, and then you go to Worlds, and Worlds is usually in what, March, April? Elaine?
April 26th.
Okay, not to be exact. So that's
But I mean, most teams stop meeting
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they, depending on how they may have stayed from home. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
I'm gonna roll.
All right.
See you.
How long do you have for lunch, by the way?
Till 1:15.
Okay, thanks. I wasn't in the room for that.
Oh, let's go see your room. No. We let, come on, Joe. He's like. Oh, no, that wasn't bothering me. Right. What happened was.
All right, I'm learning. I don't know if you guys are learning, but I'm learning. Like this
I
whole,
know.
so there's a very clear, because Jerry was like, it says supported, it doesn't say it all has to be supported. But if you go in the update, it says supported means 100% of the way.
Put a certain weight of that robot has to be somewhere on the bridge.
And then,
I guess if you put something in there that lifts both flags, you know both people will get the score for both.
okay.
Okay, fine.
That will be good.
Versus the one on my page, cleaning out, getting rid of stuff. No, because my house is still. The garage is a disaster.
You need trade time. You need trade time. Oh, I want to know now.
Well, it's so much easier to look at it is. And be objective about it.
Yeah.
As long as you're not mean about it.
Yeah.
You know? Now, I see what of my quilting stuff, which I haven't seen in years. Because they did very, yeah. And so I started opening it and looking, and it turns out just many years ago, that was my first year teaching. And I had never put that quilt together. And it was a cute little we have the funny wounded at sunbonnet soup. Yes, sunbonnet soup. And it was on my kids, they had picked the fabric, sewing it, and they signed their names. And I was like, they're like 28 years old. They were first graders when I know. Yep. So I was like, wow, this is still not put together. I'm gonna sit down and do it. It's gonna be mine. Your room, that's it. I'm not even talking about your room. Every time you need it. What do you think you pulled me away from doing? It's not like, oof. Oh, like Danielle's like, well, it really cold you. You wish you could. I know. It's all over. I know, we need to stop wearing my t-shirt. You need to stop it. You're like, well, I just thought I was kidding. When he asked me how I was the other day, and I told him I thought like I was drowning. I think he thought I was kidding. And you were just being completely honest. I was being completely honest. And I was like, no. Ah! I'll be back in school. That's what I get for eating that. Take a look at this robot. So, turn it down like this. Yeah. And it's cedar.
Let's take a look at how they designed it. Is this what they used with this? When she built, for like, is she built this as a base? But is this the robot that they used?
They had.
One of their robot design things, but it's boxer, but it's a smaller box. If you share everything, you can't, all our attachments have to fit on the table. Yeah, having a smaller robot, I think that is a little bit better than that.
So that can rip it together.
So,
It's a small bit. wondering about. They must call it. Oh, yeah.
How do you think you're gonna get 8 kids to come together and do a robot? I think Jaden and Chris. I would also want to do well, that's what I was thinking. It might be good if we came back and do this afternoon. Yeah, let's read about it real quick. So mission steel construction. Steel structure is standing and is independent, supported only by its hinges. So how does it? We have plenty of them. So where does it start? Does it start like this? It must start like this. What is this supposed to do? So all you have to do is lift that to make the road go away. No. So magic. So if the track jam is lifted, moving part is independent. So all you gotta do is lift it like that. What do you think all these black pieces are? What pieces? White pieces. So this is for the last one of the missions. Innovative architecture. So you use these to be creative. Are you listening to them? You use these and build whatever creative architecture structure you want to. So the
Bigger than a blue block.
Structure has to be bigger than that blue block, built only from these. And here it says built only from your white Lego bricks.
These ones.
Yeah, but then later it says that you can't include the rest. Okay. It should, I see. It should just say from the Lego bricks in the back and completely in any circle except the blue. We could try doing that. So if you build like, I think we should try that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can push it right there.
Can you, if you build like 2 or 3 structures, do you get points per structure? Did you guys talk about that, or is it just one structure? Random structure showing building. That kind of looks like one structure.
Yeah, I think it's
I was wondering if you did one here, can you get points? One here, can you get points?
You know what, if it doesn't say,
I don't know.
That'd be a good question.
Mom, remember that one year when they had that star thing and they brought that face, they just put it on the top? Yeah. The rest of you two are like, oh, that's stuff.
No. Oh, yeah.
So I missed, they were going through each.
I'll get my weekend anyway. I'll put some money off.
Oh, are you? Supported
My daughter.
large branches.
That means like, this is here. That means
Which one's a large branch and which one's a small branch?
this one's the large branch right here.
Okay, so
No,
you
it's
get
just
10
my
points.
reflection. I think. My mom's working. My mom's home,
And
so
it
my
doesn't
dad
have to be the red, it could be
House
blue.
Yeah,
Crochet something or.
No, I actually went there each year and sort through a bunch of stuff that we would get. I haven't had time to. Maybe watch the
No, you'd actually get 80 points.
He's got several,
It's 10 points per unit.
several shows that are, you know, debating in the queue. Because I don't watch live TV, I watch recorded TV, because you're gonna skip them.
Yeah. So that's supported, that gets 10 points. They were talking about how if they did it.
I'm gonna watch Australian series.
It could be, it could be, they said that one will say you can't block. So you're not watching.
I like I like the, I like the accents and I like.
Yeah, that too.
And I like the, learning new things, even though you're not really learning new things, even if it's just like slang and different ways, and, you know, different words. I mean, you're like, did you check the bottle? Go put it in the buggy and take it in the store.
There you go. You're gonna take a lift up to the first floor.
Of your flat?
Of your flat, yeah. Flat.
So let's start like this then. You could watch me flip it. The 10 chart. Yeah. So it starts, yeah, it starts like that.
Now, at the moment, I've been stuck on rewatching Warehouse 13. Warehouse 13, which is a sci-fi. But it's fun because there's a history tie-in because they're going through history to find these objects that have been, I don't want to say possessed, they're not possessed, they have special qualities. And so they have to go and neutralize them. But it's like, you know, Marie Antoinette, the guillotine, the blade on the guillotine that beheaded Marie Antoinette. Okay. And so they have to, you know, it's like, okay.
Oh my God, homicide or that kind of police stories.
I like those two. I need to catch one on CIS.
Yeah.
I didn't catch the very last season. Which
Have
I
you
heard
never
all
started
of
yet?
it. No, it starts this week. It starts, yeah, this
Oh, good,
week.
I heard,
Eva, yeah.
I'm in season 4 and I'm really talking about,
Wow. Yeah. They're starting season 17. That's the day I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch the CIS
So you get red ones from there.
bringing back the two JAG characters from the original, which of course NCIS is a spin-off of JAG. They're bringing back, I don't know how permanently it is, but they're bringing back Arden Mac. And I'm like, damn, I gotta catch up on that.
I stopped watching the LA one. I just thought it got really ridiculous for a while. Just corny, some of the storylines. And I'm like, I like the New Orleans one to a point. It gets a little, it's sitting there for a while. The same old storyline. How many ways are we out to get them?
657.
At least.
That's my new number this year. Last year it was 750. And the kids are like, how many times do I have to Lego robot? How many times? 753 times. And they're like, you're kidding. I'm like,
Wow, that's awesome.
Throw anything out there.
that's okay. Lego robotics is how we're motivating Rio this year. We're trying to get him without TA. He's a smart kid. He's a 3rd grader. And you probably haven't heard about him because he doesn't demonstrate he's smart because he's such a good robot.
Being good,
It's like
going through it.
I don't know who he is. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
This one, elevator.
Yeah.
And it said,
He's so smart. And you just look at it. Would you stop?
What was the question we were just talking about?
Oh, well, yeah.
I had a question, on this one.
Mhm.
It doesn't clarify if you can only do it once. Can you build more than one thing? Like, if you
build something, but it's necessarily keep it points and you have a huge lot, put it over there.
Of course, wrapping up the tiles and mom and grandma would yell at them, trying to get them into line, and I was introduced.
So I would argue that the structure, no structure.
That is just
So
bizarre.
that seems like that's a real easy one. You can push.
You
Well,
don't
and you know,
Yeah,
you have to watch this.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got dad.
You rebuild it, no question about
Dad
that.
finally looked at him.
But I think you want it can include the red. I'm gonna take.
Yeah, but
that
he's
one.
like, he's really smart, but he wants to be. And a real pain in the butt when he doesn't want to be. And
Something's supposed to happen at once.
And so they're trying to get him, his dad looked at him this year, and said, you know, technically, dad has guardian. You do. His dad is, he's technically, his boys are orphans, I mean, their mom died, their dad died, they technically have a couple of aunts and uncles, or grandma or something.
I don't need it right now.
Live in Valley.
It's valuable.
He lives with dad. His dad finally
Go ahead and
looked at
flush
him and said, you don't knock this off and figure this out, they're gonna take you away from me. He's like, what are you gonna do about it? Because
No,
if
I think once
you,
you
if I
have
can't
it,
prove that I
and,
can help you behave,
keep checking
then
in
they're
your
gonna
area,
take you away from
because I
me.
do have use for it if I have it back. and
So,
it'll be a point in my life where-
our sped department is working on, hey, you can do
but you
this,
just
you know
actually
how to
solve
do
the
this,
black hole.
figure it out.
Put it where?
I support you, but I'm not gonna baby you.
No, I must.
And so he's got Legos in the library, and it's like.
That's fine. Okay, that's totally fine. I'm glad you have it that answered the question.
Third grader, and Stephanie's like, well, we gotta take fourth graders.
Because I have access to others if I need to just grab one or something.
So in my school.
I'd rather it be in the head of the kids. Right now in my life.
Well, we only
have
took fifth grade.
But I don't wanna.
Okay.
That's fine.
There were other people out there, like, I know one team is done. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Exactly. And
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6
Sixth
graders, 4 third graders. 4 Let's see.
And I don't know what that brain not for us either. So I've had to replace brains in there.
And I'm gonna do what you said.
Did you ever do
Excuse me? No, supporters, everything, but be the actual team. So I like
And in
that.
fact, they could actually go to competition and be a sportsman. I mean, they could be a spectator.
Yeah,
That's what it sounds like, if you say that.
This is their
One thing,
robot. And they use this which was like, and this is the robot.
Yeah, you need to have such
Like sensors on the side.
wanted a very simple robot, like even that base robot, but then just I don't know what right. That's one strategy. Teams have done trying to get it. But one thing that was best for our team was a book that they recommended that we bought called named So my coach had them sit down with the math and go through the mission. And then so this is what should be in robot. Then I'm going to push it forward. They sort of started and we had a team robot here. And obviously what we and 6 years now.
And they started 7 and 8 years ago. So when that's so
this year you're providing this.
You know,
so I had to install and then this
which will let it down and you want to
I've never had to see one.
I'll bring them back. So there's another thing on my eye.
It's not how I would.
So now.
And then drop it out.
This is somehow. And you can start it's similar to how Jacob, anyone who wears all kinds of
We all know.
And if you don't tell everybody, it doesn't have to be decided in the beginning. Of course, it can change, right? It has to explore what the spread is. Upgrade and put it on that and get the red. I mean, they put those things on top. and they- My team, that was their goal, but it wasn't the end way. This is down and you have to get it started off that way, but look at it's just not the way it was. So you have to get it so that balance is just right. Because if we don't back over, so they continue to build a really delicate. This one's also really delicate. This is delicate. And we want to get a bit fair. So the more efficient, that is what that is. Pre-planning, well, if we know that, so do the side, then we could pre-design that. We went through it before because they know interaction. This is so that if you're building, they're very difficult to get out, and you want to know some have one, you have to figure out which ones you can knock out. Then you just how not get over. 10 points for each hole that gets knocked out, as long as it stays upright. So if you like that, you don't get any points. But Lisa, and it's setting on each score might be better. So you have to your go-to for all. You know which holes can, as many holes to knock out while it stays soft. Like a guy with silver or something, you know, want to swing anyway, either knock it down or winning design. You can lift maybe Lego robot. So I think it's a handicap accessible thing for the city. So the traffic jam, you have to get it out of the way. Lift the traffic jam and it has to stay upright so it's only by its own hand.
Somebody's phone here?
Thank you.
I was like, I don't know.
Me.
It's like,
Either on that, or maybe once there's an update. Oh, it was that, I think it might have been that one. And what that did, is my co-coach read that, and then he came with this, okay, here's how we decide how to build a new design. Yeah, that's, it's been really, really good so far. I went back to analyze it and decide what it means, we'll sketch it out. But now that we can correct it, I got that. Okay, so I think what you see. Yeah, and anyway, it's just really cool to have the table just set up and have this building. So you want to see them go through, what's expected. Anyway, it's really cool. I
have the whole book as a PDF.
Oh, my goodness, really?
Yep.
Oh, that would be awesome. All right. Give me my email. You may have it in here.
Yeah, probably have it.
Yes, we do have a whole bunch of, we have a whole sheet of it. Okay, well, Lane's going to do programming this afternoon.
Yeah. This is you and Woods?
Yes, that's me.
And you want the EV3? You want the EV3, right? You want the whole book or just the?
If
I'll do
the
both.
book can come over, that'd be great. And it's got.
So she was the one that I love her, and I said,
Okay, so here's so what I did here is I split out. I think our remote people are all gone. So what I did is I split out just the building instructions. Okay, and so let me send that, and then I'm going to send you the whole book. So then I'll take what I just sent you.
Your tablet's strong enough to support the EV3.
Oh yes, this is an old one. It's about 5 years old. This Surface, and it works just fine.
You're buying a computer this year.
I just bought her a brand new one right here. Love it. So I will reply, Nina, and I will attach the Surface book. Yeah. And then you want the whole book. Let's see, 2,000. 2,000. It's very expensive. It's ridiculous. Okay. So you have both now. So you have the book, includes the building instructions, and then I pulled out the building instructions out of it, but it talks about passive attachment. So here, you have it right here. See right here. And it talks about, so I don't know if anybody else is interested in this, but it's called Running Design. You look at the whole book. Okay, so it talks about all kinds of, this is how we learned master program, was out of this book.
Master programming?
Yeah, the master program, do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, it talks about all the sensors and gears and, but what's really cool is, when it goes, am I charging? Yes, I am. Okay, so this is really good, is when it talks about supporting your wheels on both sides, right? So when you look at, the reason I think that other robot is not supported on both sides, when you look at
The Macklemore thing?
from the wall, right? It goes all the way to the wall. So your wheels are supported on both sides. So no matter what, it doesn't go from there, right? So when he's talking about getting a robot over
Oh, she won the seat.
it's a lot less play to something like this, right? And so we do four wheels, like so like, yeah, so we it's the part that's on one that gets in your head, but we got we take that out of the wild.
It's real.
So that's where we learned about it, with the big block. Hey, move your butt. No, I need the chair. And then it talks about, okay, can you guys? All right, let me see here. It talks about going straight, really good. It teaches about wheels and how to, going straight, I think, is one of the hardest things to do. It goes to programming and stuff like that, which is really cool. But see, this whole idea of supporting the wheels on both sides, it comes from this design. Then he talks about attachments,
Right.
Calibration, line following. Man, I haven't looked at this in a while. Gears. Then he talks about, right, now he starts talking about attachments in different ways. So you can use these rubber bands, right? So you can push something up and it'll come back. Moose Pass is famous for this stuff. All kinds of different ways that you can move things. There we go, passive attachments. This is what I thought was really weird. Different kinds of passive attachments that you can have that don't require a motor. That's going to be really important in pushing stuff this year, I think. Really, really important, yeah. And then at the very end is when you get the, I'm telling you, you'll just, it's such a good book. And there we go, there's the building instructions, right? The reason I don't do the building instructions in this is because you'll need extra pieces. You don't have everything in the core one. So if you're missing something, you can let me know, or you can just order it. We got away from these big fat wheels. We don't like them. We went to the narrower ones, but we started with this. You build that, and then you go, fix it. And they just kind of go off and do their own thing. Yeah, you do. It's not enough to build this. There'll be some pieces you'll be missing. You'll see, yeah. Okay. Okay, all right. Are you staying or are you leaving?
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think so.
All right.
I don't think the Zoom people are rookies, right? Because we've
They
got
were
Jerry.
both rookies, but they're gone. As
They're
far as
gone.
I can see,
Okay.
they're gone. I can't
no,
see
Jerry's
anyone
not-
else.
Jerry's not a rookie.
It says one participant.
John
Well, John's not a rookie, but
Jerry.
only Anchor's on here. I'll keep it up, Tammy, in case someone else joins. But then I would know to tell them to go there. But right now there's nobody on here, so I think I'll just stop it. Well, yeah. Okay, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Happy afternoon. My name is Tammy Happy, and I would love to help Lizzie coaches get a little more comfortable with this shiny new thing that was thrown at me. So if you want to relocate your store, that'll take us a few minutes. We can get some store, kind of find different things. You're still munching. I think it's okay to bring that with you.
Yep.
And so that we can help you get started with that.
Real quick question for everybody. In like 3 minutes, did you tell me, did you learn anything this morning?
Yes.
Like, you know, was it only about 3 minutes worth of stuff, or did you guys learn a little bit more than that? Okay, good. Learn what?
And maybe get you guys to help us out. So let's see if we can get everybody to. Why am I not getting that?
I don't know, what'd you do? Unplug? They unplug you? These kids, I'll tell you, you know, that Mitchell, that's all I gotta say.
There we go.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you can use ours. I think it's charged, so